I'm Max Darrow, and this is The Minute. Free haircuts are available today in San Francisco ahead of Transgender Day of Visibility. Organizers say it's an effort to boost pride and empowerment within the transgender community. Other events include an intergenerational brunch and an outdoor festival. In Daly City, a new Korean food complex in the Saramonte Center is bringing in a lot of crowds this weekend. The Jigalchi grocery store spans 75,000 square feet and includes a bakery, butcher, seafood counter, and restaurant run by a Michelin-starred chef. Today is the final day. You'll be able to bowl at a beloved Tri-Valley bowling alley. Danville Bowl will close for the final time tomorrow after more than 60 years in business. The owners have sold the property on Boone Court to developers who intend to start work on the site right away. The Bay Area's only primetime newscasts, weeknights at 8 and 9 p.m. on Pix Plus, 44 Cable 12. 1,600 people are dead and thousands more are missing following Friday's magnitude 7.7 earthquake in Southeast Asia. Most of the destruction and loss of life thus far is in Myanmar. Rescue efforts are underway, but damaged roads and limited equipment are slowing response teams down. The ongoing civil war there is also complicating the situation even more as airstrikes continue in the region. Aid from India, China, and other nations is arriving. Distribution remains a challenge. Many still trapped in hospitals, overwhelmed. The humanitarian crisis only continues to grow. Rescue efforts continue in Bangkok as well after a 30-story building collapsed following the powerful quake. At least 17 people died there in Thailand, 83 still missing. Search teams are slowly working through unstable rubble. Experts are also looking into the cause of the building's unusual collapse. So naturally, when a major quake hits anywhere in the world, people in the Bay Area think about what could happen the next time a big one hits here. Brian Hackney takes a look at the Myanmar quake, the similarities it has to the San Andreas fault, and what we can learn from it.
The earth snapped here, near Mandalay in Myanmar, and 600 miles away.
I am confused by this at the amount of damage done 600 miles from the epicenter. How do we explain all the damage in Bangkok?
I can't explain it either.
Ross Stein is a geophysicist with Tembler Incorporated and a lecturer at Stanford.
It is so far away to produce such damage. Now, likely it is that this was an extremely poorly built building or buildings, and that what an earthquake does, even with extremely modest shaking, is to find those buildings and tear them down.
And while we had our own collapses with Loma Prieta, our buildings are usually much more rugged, but we do have our faults.
Ross, what's the analog to this quake in the Bay Area? Do we have an analog?
Just about every large earthquake we've seen on the San Andreas is an analog for what we've seen today. And that's because the Sagang fault is a dead ringer for the San Andreas. They're both about 600 miles long. They're both slipping at the same speed, about an inch a year. And they both have a history of very large earthquakes.
The fault has had 10 large quakes since 1900. Each put pressure on a different part of that fault, making it more likely to snap. We have the same problem in the Bay Area, but our own great quake actually gave us a break.
We've been living during the glory days of 1906 that dropped the stress on the part of the fault in the Bay Area where we live.
Right now we have a major fire.
But as Loma Prieta proved, that can't last forever. As for casualties in Myanmar, the numbers will probably dramatically rise.
The country has been forewarned by past earthquakes, but isn't in a position to protect and defend itself, and that's tragic.
Ross Stein also says that while we're typically most concerned about the San Andreas fault, it's actually often the smaller faults, known as branch faults, which experience medium-sized quakes that trigger bigger ones on major faults, such as the San Andreas.
A little bit of rain is falling on this Sunday morning, and it's going to continue on and off throughout the early afternoon. It's not going to bring any sort of flooding, so do not expect that, but you might want to give yourself an extra couple of minutes on the roads if you do have any plans earlier in the day. later in the day, though, you'll notice quickly clearing off. And in fact, like I showed you earlier, we're going to be seeing clearing skies across our inland locations with a good amount of sunnier skies as well by later today. That's going to be good news when it comes to allowing our temperatures, especially across our inland locations, to warm up a degree or two maybe than yesterday, although it's still going to be a couple of degrees below average. Mid-60s across our inland areas, low 60s to upper 50s closer to our coastal communities and across the North Bay. Kind of depends on where you are, but again, we are going to continue to see quite a lot more cloud coverage, wet weather, and cooler temperatures that will stick around through early next week, as there is an area of low pressure that is spinning off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. It's really interesting that you can see that area of cloud coverage spinning, and it's going to continue to churn up moisture and usher it into the west coast of the United States on and off all the way through Tuesday, as that low pressure system will officially move overhead on Tuesday. It's going to also bring windier conditions throughout this afternoon. By the evening hours, though, quieting down just a little bit. By tomorrow, though, we are expecting those windy conditions to return anywhere from 35 to maybe even 40 miles an hour, quieter by the overnight hours, and then those wind gusts picking up even more by Tuesday afternoon and evening, quite potentially upwards of 40 to maybe even 50 miles an hour. No wind advisory quite yet, but I would not be surprised if Tuesday we did see one, because it looks like Tuesday will be the windiest day as that storm system will be moving directly overhead. Throughout this afternoon and evening, again, we will continue to see those clearing conditions, but another line of rain will be moving overhead overnight tonight and then into early tomorrow morning. But as you can see, 8 a.m., only areas in the North Bay are going to be seeing very light showers. They'll be quick moving, and they are not going to be impactful for very long. You just might want to give yourself an extra couple of minutes because the roads are likely going to be wet. North Bay communities likely going to be seeing the heaviest of the activity tomorrow, quieting down late tomorrow evening before more rain arrives early Tuesday. Again, those on again, off again showers continuing throughout the day Tuesday before officially quieting down and clearing out late Tuesday and into Wednesday. Overall totals are only going to be a couple of quarters to maybe a half of an inch of rain. It is not going to bring anything flooding, and it is going to bring a lot of snow up across the Sierra, upwards of 2 feet of snow possible, which is why we do have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in effect across the Sierra. So not the greatest weekend to maybe drive, or greatest early next week to head up to the mountains, but by mid to late next week, much quieter conditions, more sunshine, and warmer weather will arrive. So big changes are on the way, but we have a couple of days of wet weather to get through, so keep an umbrella and keep a jacket handy at least through Tuesday, and then grab the sunglasses and warm weather gear by next weekend.
It's been 3 months since a 7.0 earthquake in Humboldt County caused a massive traffic backup along the coast. That's because a tsunami warning was issued for coastal areas here in the Bay Area, and that led to gridlock along Highway 1 near Pacifica. The threat never materialized, but it did highlight concerns of how to get people along the coast to higher ground safely. Now, a new tool may help provide people with a better way out. When she closes up shop for the day at her Pacifica Cafe, it's hard for Ginger Davis not to smile.
The ocean is just amazing. It's always been my favorite thing.
Her Chit Chat Cafe is about as close to the water as you can get. 99% of the time, it's a blessing. But when a tsunami warning buzzed her phone on December 5th last year,
We're obviously right on the water, so it was a big concern.
she left and got to higher ground. But she remembers this well. Highway 1 packed with bumper-to-bumper traffic, people trying to get away from the coast.
One of the things that was a big issue at that time was getting out. And it was just a mess. It was just a mess.
She says obviously it was great a tsunami didn't hit, but communication about what to do and where to go wasn't great. And that needs to change. San Mateo County leaders agree. Officials just unveiled a new interactive dashboard they hope will help in the future.
This tool is actually done in direct response to community feedback.
Supervisor Ray Mueller says it shows people their risk level and helps identify the safe paths to higher ground so they know where to go.
And what happened on that day back in December is many people ran to Highway 1, which is actually in the tsunami zone, and were stuck in traffic when they could have just gone a few blocks east.
And so they were traveling all over the coast in panic, trying to figure out if they were safe and if who they loved were safe.
When the tsunami warning came through, Mueller says a similar online state resource couldn't handle the web traffic.
What happened with the state dashboard is so many people went to it, it actually failed under the traffic that came to it. By having the information housed here on our servers, that's not going to happen.
More public signage is also in the works. Mueller believes the county is already more prepared and hopes this tool helps residents feel better prepared as well.
In just over 3 months to have this site up and to have these signs coming, where you can see our emergency management department is working at light speed.
I'm just hoping it goes better next time.
Living along the coast, Davis knows there will be a next time.
We live in earthquake country, and tsunamis start from the shifting of the earth.
And when that happens, she hopes the county's action now does actually pay off.
Having a plan for evacuating with cars, where to go, what roads to take.
She'd like to see that message communicated enough so people understand it, so chaos along the coast doesn't happen the next time. If you live in San Mateo County and you want to check out the dashboard, head to our website. We've got a link there, kpix.com. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area on this Sunday, pushback in the North Bay against new plans for affordable housing. We take a look at some of the concerns that people have shared about where this development could be, plus serving up hope and second chances. We'll hear from those who have been down on their luck and now are training for careers in the food industry.
I'm excited. I feel accomplished. I feel like I can move forward confidently.
And how a former pro athlete is now coaching parents to put the fun back in sports for their kids.
The wet weather pattern will stick around for the next couple of days, but it's not going to be a rain all day, every day situation by any sort of means. It's going to be the on again, off again rain showers that we'll see continuing through Tuesday. By Wednesday, much drier weather arriving. And then by Thursday and into Friday, temperatures gradually warming and getting back into the mid 70s across our inland locations by the time that we step out next weekend. So next weekend is going to look a lot lovelier than the end of this weekend will. Again, today you are going to want to grab that umbrella because those on again, off again showers are going to continue throughout today, tomorrow, and into Tuesday. So keep that umbrella handy.
A new low-income apartment complex in Marin County is facing some pushback because of where it is planned to go. It started out as a 74-unit project along Drake Avenue in Marin City, but the plans changed with the development split into 2 locations, a scaled-down version that will remain at the original location in Marin City, and then a second building with 32 units on Shoreline Highway in unincorporated Mill Valley. So the problem, the site sits on a FEMA-designated flood zone. As Suji Nam shows us, that's raising some serious concerns.
Supposed to put low-income housing in areas that are better than they have been. This one is substantially worse.
Amy Kalish, the chair of the Tamalpayas Design Review Board in Marin County, is touring the property at 150 Shoreline Avenue, the potential site for low-income housing. She says the plans violate local building regulations.
25 feet is the actual height limit, but part of this building will go to 70 feet.
Amy and her team are the advisory board to developers in the county. When she got the first application, she said she knew this site wasn't the right fit for the project.
Second time we got the plans that we reviewed, nothing had changed. The windows are still coming down to the ground.
The low windows, a concern as the property sits in a flood zone according to FEMA.
Water. All of it.
Amy took these a few months ago, showing the aftermath of heavy rain. King tides also impact the area. She adds the proposed site is just a walk away from this marshy area, posing safety risks for future residents on this plot of land. The Marin County Community Development Agency supports the plan. Sarah Jones, the director of the agency, says affordability has to be a priority. She adds the site has already been zoned for housing, making the option to split the sites appealing.
Get to an outcome that would result in adding the same amount of affordable housing in the southern part of Marin County, but distribute some of it into higher resource areas.
Many Mill Valley residents have been outspoken against the project. They cite many of the same concerns as Amy, as well as the potential impact of decreasing property values. San Jose State University professor Kelly Snyder says the property value concerns are unfounded.
Zero evidence that constructing high-density housing, medium-density housing, even low-income and subsidized housing has a negative effect on property values.
The developer will soon bring their plans to the County Planning Commission. Amy says this plan feels like all or nothing.
It is an ultimatum, and it's a terrible ultimatum because this is a very bad site for housing.
Amy adds that the county will most likely approve this new proposal, but she hopes the developer will have an improved architectural plan in place to keep residents safe.
We reached out to the developer but still have not heard back. If their proposal is approved by the County Planning Commission, it will then go to the Board of Supervisors for a final decision. To the city now, a second chance often promised, but it can be really hard to come by and really hard for people to take advantage of when they do happen. There's a catering company in San Francisco that's offering just that opportunity for patients and people who have been treated for mental illness. Our Kelsey Thorud introduces us to a graduate from the Slice of Life program.
2, 3. Thank you, guys.
After months of hard work, learning all it takes to work in a restaurant kitchen, they are one of 4 graduating from Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital's Slice of Life catering program.
I'm excited. I feel accomplished. I feel like I can move forward confidently, having obtained everything I need to move forward successfully.
Humble moved to San Francisco from New Orleans last year. They said they felt at the time like they just needed a change of scenery from their hometown. But when they arrived here, the transition was tough.
I was homeless. I ended up at a women's shelter here locally and getting better and finding myself in therapy.
Humble says it was during that therapy that they were introduced to the Slice of Life program.
And my passion has always been to just cook and serve. And so when opportunity arose, I just could not see myself getting the proper training that I know that I need so that I can live out my dreams.
So for the past 6 months, Humble has been learning all they can through the paid internship program, from food safety to technique to presentation.
From learning the different temperatures of boiling water to learning the different internal temperatures for baking bread to just being more in depth when it comes to my safety and keeping food handling safe.
Now, Humble is officially a graduate. Their last meal for the program, a creamy seafood pasta.
It's perfectly sauced through every noodle. The salmon has sauce on it, but it's also moist on the inside.
With their certificate in hand, Humble says their goal now, to get a job at a restaurant or cafe, while also attending culinary school to become a fully trained chef.
And I'm going to take all the experience to just be the greatest chef that I can be.
Humble says with all they've learned in this program, they feel confident that that dream will come true.
Possible, all I have to do is stay focused.
Still ahead, bringing fun back to the field.
I'm Elizabeth Cook. We'll introduce you to a former big leaguer turning young athletes into winners by removing toxicity from youth sports.
Well, as the song says, Sunday morning rain is falling, and that's what we're seeing, and it will continue on again, off again, at least through the next several days, as we are looking at what I would like to call a pumping area of low pressure. It's going to continue to spin off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. And like I said, it's pumping in layers of moisture across the west coast of the United States. That will continue through again Tuesday, bringing us wet weather. It's not going to be bringing us anything crazy. It's not going to bring widespread heavy rainfall every single day. It is going to bring those light rounds of on again, off again rain showers through Tuesday. Again, it is going to remain pretty wet over over the next several days, but it is not going to be flooding rainfall. So that's the best news of all. Light, consistent rain, that is what we need. And luckily, that is what we are going to get, along with a lot of cloud coverage. The clouds will continue to clear through later this afternoon and evening. And in fact, we might even see a beautiful sunset tonight, especially across our inland locations. But the dry weather not going to stick around much longer than the evening hours. There's going to be more waves of rain, like I said, continuing through Tuesday before a lot warmer weather arrives. I'll let you know everything you can expect this upcoming week coming up in my full forecast.
Following opening day of baseball season, we are taking a look at youth sports and the growing pressure put on young athletes. Our Elizabeth Cook sat down with a former big leaguer who's trying to put the fun back in youth sports.
When Paul Dynas and his son Tanner head to the Diamond, they're no longer playing just to win. They're focused on something more important.
Told you.
Paul Dynas was, for a time, coaching Tanner's team, but now his coaching days are over.
I was a horrible parent for many years. I would follow him around the field.
And they're just like being super hard on me. And I made one error, and I got a big talking to about it.
Anna Dynas is Tanner's mom.
Every time Tanner struck out, he'd look at him, no matter what. And I'm like, he needs to stop because he's already in his head. And so now he struck out, and now he's worried about that, and he's worried about what he's thinking of him.
So you benched him?
Yeah.
The Dynas family had a problem and sought help from a real pro.
Who in here wants to play professional baseball?
Professional ball player Travis Snyder counsels parents to get off their kids' backs.
Snyder hammers one to center field.
After a 16-year playing career, Blue Jays, Pirates, Orioles. Now he's trying to change the culture of youth sports through his Seattle-based company, 3A Athletics.
What do you want parents, coaches, and players to know?
We want them to have a community of resources and feel like they're not alone, because being a parent is incredibly difficult, and then you throw the pressure of sports, the time, the money, the energy. It just intensifies that emotional attachment that we have to our kids, who are the things we love the most.
And here's the reality. According to the NCAA, less than 7% of high school athletes play in college, and only 2% of them make it to the pros. Snyder, now a father of 3, brings a unique perspective to coaching kids and parents. As a boy, he was the best youth player in Washington State, but as an adult, he was diagnosed with complex PTSD after a lifetime of challenging moments.
You've been very open about this moment when you're 11 years old, you're standing there on the pitching mound, you're having a great game, but all of a sudden you have a meltdown. What happened?
At the time, I was the best player on the team, so that's a lot of pressure. And then when things don't go to plan, it was just too much for my emotional regulation to be able to process that while there's 6,000 people in the stands watching me fail.
The Dynas family says they benefited directly from the lessons Travis Snyder learned. Tanner is all in on his strategy to make youth sports a learning experience, not an end game.
So, Paul, how important is winning now?
I don't care. I just want to see Tanner be happy. Winning does not matter to me. If he's happy, I'm happy, she's happy, and we go home.
Which, as a parent, may make him an even bigger winner.
Still ahead in our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area. NASA testing new technology aimed at keeping air support active during firefights when human pilots can't see. We'll get an up-close look at how this is done.
This project is super personal to me. I grew up in Southern California. I've been evacuated.
Plus, we are hearing from a Bay Area veteran worried about losing his doctors at the VA. Why he says this could be a matter of life and death. I'm Max Darrow, and this is The Minute. Free haircuts are available today in San Francisco ahead of Transgender Day of Visibility. Organizers say it is an effort to boost pride and empowerment within the transgender community. Other events include an intergenerational brunch and an outdoor festival as well. Demonstrators in Oakland are calling for safer streets without relying on law enforcement ahead of the April 15th mayoral election. Former Congresswoman Barbara Lee and Lauren Taylor are both frontrunners in the race. They vowed to address public safety and the city's budget deficit. San Francisco is home to one of the largest Burmese populations in the United States. Some Burmese restaurants in the city are planning to donate a portion of their sales to Myanmar's recovery from Friday's earthquake. Businesses say they are working together to maximize aid. And the Bay Area's only primetime newscasts, weeknights at 8 and 9 p.m. on Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
A little bit of rain is falling on this Sunday morning, and it's going to continue on and off throughout the early afternoon. It's not going to bring any sort of flooding, so do not expect that, but you might want to give yourself an extra couple of minutes on the roads if you do have any plans earlier in the day. Later in the day, though, you'll notice quickly clearing off. And in fact, like I showed you earlier, we're going to be seeing clearing skies across our inland locations with a good amount of sunnier skies as well by later today. That's going to be good news when it comes to allowing our temperatures, especially across our inland locations, to warm up a degree or two maybe than yesterday, although it's still going to be a couple of degrees below average. Mid-60s across our inland areas, low 60s to upper 50s closer to our coastal communities and across the North Bay. Kind of depends on where you are, but again, we are going to continue to see quite a lot more cloud coverage, wet weather, and cooler temperatures that will stick around through early next week, as there is an area of low pressure that is spinning off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. It's really interesting that you can see that area of cloud coverage spinning, and it's going to continue to churn up moisture and usher it into the west coast of the United States on and off all the way through Tuesday, as that low pressure system will officially move overhead on Tuesday. It's going to also bring windier conditions throughout this afternoon. By the evening hours, though, quieting down just a little bit. By tomorrow, though, they're expecting those windy conditions to return anywhere from 35 to maybe even 40 miles an hour, quieter by the overnight hours, and then those wind gusts picking up even more by Tuesday afternoon and evening, quite potentially upwards of 40 to maybe even 50 miles an hour. No wind advisory quite yet, but I would not be surprised if Tuesday we did see one, because it looks like Tuesday will be the windiest day, as that storm system will be moving directly overhead. Throughout this afternoon and evening, again, we will continue to see those clearing conditions, but another line of rain will be moving overhead overnight tonight and then into early tomorrow morning. But as you can see, 8 a.m., only areas in the North Bay are going to be seeing very light showers. They'll be quick moving, and they are not going to be impactful for very long. You just might want to give yourself an extra couple of minutes because the roads are likely going to be wet. North Bay communities likely going to be seeing the heaviest of the activity tomorrow, quieting down late tomorrow evening before more rain arrives early Tuesday. Again, those on again, off again showers continuing throughout the day Tuesday before officially quieting down and clearing out late Tuesday and into Wednesday. Overall totals are only going to be a couple of quarters to maybe a half of an inch of rain. It is not going to bring anything flooding, and it is going to bring a lot of snow up across the Sierra, upwards of 2 feet of snow possible, which is why we do have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in effect across the Sierra. So not the greatest weekend to maybe drive, or greatest early next week to head up to the mountains, but by mid to late next week, much quieter conditions, more sunshine, and warmer weather will arrive. So big changes are on the way, but we have a couple of days of wet weather to get through, so keep an umbrella and keep a jacket handy at least through Tuesday, and then grab the sunglasses and warm weather gear by next weekend.
Fire crews in California are trained to handle some of the most intense circumstances possible. But at times, low visibility or dangerous conditions can ground an air assault, which is the most effective tool at fighting wildfires. But now, NASA is helping expand the window of time crews have to respond to a major incident. You can see this video where researchers performed their first wildfire test flight missions using new airspace management technology. We're told this is potentially life-saving tech that is years in the making. They brought our Mary Lee along for the ride.
Fine, adjust more if you want.
Here in the beautiful Salinas foothills, NASA researchers have turned this private land into their very own live experiment. Their mission, helping crews fight fires from the air both day and night, sending all types of aircraft in the sky 24/7. Because right now, pilots can't fly at night or in heavy smoke.
It's something that I've spent years talking to firefighters from different agencies about, and it's just really exciting to actually you know, see the drones take off and then see the real live display, not simulated data, but like the actual live location of all those pieces being tracked in our system.
Taking me along for the ride, we drove up rugged terrain to get to the launch site. This is where we found more NASA researchers here in this remote area. They purposely picked this spot because of the hills, vegetation, and weak cell service.
I'll just put the batteries on, and then I'll come back for the RC.
This is where we met Jonas Jansson. He's the mission manager for NASA's test mission here.
We have ground station operator here, so it's going to then take over the control of the aircraft and fly the flight plan, which we have scouted out there. So it's a lawnmower pattern and going back and forth across the hillside. And the purpose is to simulate a prescribed burn.
NASA is testing its Portable Aircraft Management System, or PAMS, to make sure drones and remotely piloted aircraft stay inside their approved flight paths, wildfire operation zones, and of course, avoid any collisions in the air. By first making sure their aircraft communication runs smoothly, they can then safely deploy all aircraft at night or in heavy smoke, something they could never do before. Extending the time crews can fight fires is crucial and can make all the difference in stopping a wildfire from getting out of control.
This project is super personal to me. I grew up in Southern California. I've been evacuated. I lived in a canyon that every year you'd get fires. And so being able to help with this project and help our end users is really kind of just a dream come true.
It's a real good motivation for in the morning when you get up at 5 a.m. or something to head out and do the flight test. You know that you're doing it for a good cause.
For NASA researchers, they say this mission is not just rewarding, but brings them one step closer to reality. They hope fire crews can start using their new technology out in the field soon.
Researchers will use data from the flight tests to refine the airspace management system. The project is managed at NASA's Ames Research Center at Moffett Field. President Trump's mass layoffs at the Department of Veterans Affairs could have a huge impact on Bay Area veterans. An East Bay veteran with long-term health issues says he depends on his local VA clinic. He tells our Suji Nam he's not only concerned for himself, but for his doctors as well.
77-year-old Craig Pratt prioritizes his health at home. He says he tries to exercise every day.
Aerobic exercise like the throwing machine here or strength.
He leads an active lifestyle, especially with his medical conditions.
Heart disease and cancer are given to me at the San Francisco VA medical facility.
Craig served as a Marine in the Vietnam War in 1965. He was 17 years old. During that time, he was exposed to Agent Orange. That and his long-term health issues are the reason for his frequent visits to the Oakland VA clinic.
We signed up to make sacrifices that, even now, 50 plus years later, have given us some consequences.
Craig says that throughout the years, he has developed meaningful relationships with doctors who are also active or retired military.
They listen, they understand common experiences that me and other veterans have.
But now he is concerned for his fellow veterans and the doctors that treat them. The Trump administration announced its plans to cut more than 80,000 jobs within the VA nationwide. The cuts could begin as early as June. There is real fear among clinicians within the VA system. We reached out to several doctors working for Bay Area VAs. Many were fearful to speak with us on record. But we did talk with one longtime local VA doctor who wanted to remain anonymous. We also distorted the audio for privacy purposes.
Myself and my colleagues wonder and worry if we're going to get an email tomorrow that says, "Thank you for your service and here are your retirement papers," or "Goodbye." I don't really know.
They say this is more than just a job.
We are so indebted to them for their years of service, often when they are very young. And then we see the impacts of their service on their health, both mental and physical, and feel deeply indebted to care for them throughout their lives.
And that, like many veterans, each physician has a story.
That is me and my wife many years ago.
Just like Craig shares his story of service and sacrifice.
Can't believe in my heart of hearts that anyone is better at making those decisions than the people who know what it takes to care for veterans.
He says while only time will tell what's going to happen, in the meantime, Craig tells us he will continue to let his doctors know how much he appreciates their service.
The VA also offers mental health support. According to their latest report, there were more than 6,400 veteran suicide deaths in 2022. Veterans and healthcare professionals are concerned these cuts will have even more dire impacts for veterans nationwide. In a statement, the VA press secretary said even though the Biden administration astronomically grew the department's budget and the number of employees, VA wait times and backlogs also did increase. He went on to say they are trying to fix the VA's problems and plan to reduce employment by about 15% without cutting health care or benefits. Coming up next.
It's not everybody's dream or ambition to grow up and be a garbage man. I enjoy what I do.
We'll take you on the job with one San Francisco garbage man that's being called one of the best in his discipline. Plus, we'll meet a woman who has spent most of her 94 years working to make her Bay Area community a better place. What she says keeps her going.
I learned from her the value of giving back.
The wet weather pattern will stick around for the next couple of days, but it's not going to be a rain all day, every day situation by any sort of means. It's going to be the on again, off again rain showers that we'll see continuing through Tuesday. By Wednesday, much drier weather arriving. And then by Thursday and into Friday, temperatures gradually warming and getting back into the mid 70s across our inland locations by the time that we step out next weekend. So next weekend is going to look a lot lovelier than the end of this weekend will. Again, today you are going to want to grab that umbrella because those on again, off again showers are going to continue throughout today, tomorrow, and into Tuesday. So keep that umbrella handy.
It's not every day a garbage man gets the red carpet treatment, but one San Francisco trash collector is cleaning up in more ways than one. Itai Had introduces us to a third-generation driver who is up for the so-called Oscars of garbage.
Most people don't even notice their garbage man. They hear the truck, rush out the bin, go back inside. But if you're lucky enough to live on Dave Barbagelata's route, you should probably know you're witnessing a master at work.
Picking up garbage, help keeping San Francisco clean. Can't ask for more than that.
Before you've even opened your email, Dave has already deleted your trash. On a busy day, he can clear up to 1,400 bins. And while it may look repetitive, mundane even, there's an art form to it.
This one, slowly. Go like that. Yeah, slowly.
One that can take a while to nail down. He's worked for Recology, a San Francisco-based waste company, for the last 37 years. He's not burned out or counting the days to retirement. He genuinely likes it.
It's not everybody's dream or ambition to grow up and be a garbage man. I enjoy what I do.
Garbage is in his blood. His grandfather started in 1925. Dad followed. Now it's Dave's turn to drive the family legacy. And here's the part that should really make you pause. In 37 years on the job, he's had 0 accidents and the cleanest record in one of the dirtiest lines of work. And this year, someone finally noticed. Dave is a nominee for the Oscars of Garbage. Yep, you heard that right.
It is exactly like an Oscar. They're announced, they walk up a red carpet, they come up onto a stage.
Michael E. Hoffman is the president of the National Waste and Recycling Association, which started handing out these awards 65 years ago.
We show up every day. We're on our streets and our highways and our towns and our cities more than anybody. More than EMS, more than police, more than fire.
For Dave, this isn't just a big deal. It's a first.
I couldn't believe I was one of the guys that were chosen. Hi.
And after 4 decades of excellence in the garbage industry, Dave Barbagelata might finally collect something that isn't trash.
The award ceremony will be held May 5th in Las Vegas. Certainly no grouches at that Oscars ceremony. March is Women's History Month, and all month long we are highlighting the contributions made by women to our Bay Area. Today we're highlighting a San Francisco philanthropist who's dedicated her life to giving back to underserved communities. She tells our Lorene Ayub she hopes her children and grandchildren will all follow in her footsteps.
Even at the age of 94, Rosalind Swig, also known as Sissy, continues her philanthropy in San Francisco and beyond. Recently awarded a key to the city for her unwavering support to the arts and social justice, she credits her generosity to lessons from her mother.
I think my mother was my strongest influence, and I guess I learned from her the value of giving back.
And now Miss Swig is passing on that value to her children and grandchildren. Focusing on disadvantaged communities, Rosalind says her family's commitment to uplifting others came from a key principle in her Jewish faith.
We have a term, a Hebrew phrase called tikkun olam, and that phrase, when translated, says, give back to those in need without any expectation of getting something for yourself in return.
And one such example of that sense of giving back can be clearly seen at the India Basin Shoreline Park. The Bayview Hunters Point site, once a hazardous wasteland, was revitalized after Miss Swig, who is co-chair of the Capital Campaign Committee, rallied with others to support the community.
It was really transformative because it allowed me to become aware and part of a community that had gone through and was going through very, very difficult times.
Rosalind shares that compassion for humanity with her grandson, Adam Swig, who runs nonprofit Value Culture.
The greatest gift my grandmother ever gave me was the gift of giving back, of knowing how to give back. And that's the one thing we hope to leave people with.
For Rosalind, whether it's a political leader or community member across the city, she wants her neighbors to know one main thing.
They are part of a world that cares. So I guess that's what gives me the most pleasure.
The kind of care that keeps her and her family always finding ways to give back.
Coming up after the break, we'll meet the woman who saved a historic San Francisco theater that was on the brink of foreclosure. How her efforts have provided a big lift to the entire community.
And as an artist, you need someone who can see and believe in you enough to say, without question, let's go ahead and do it.
Well, as the song says, Sunday morning rain is falling, and that's what we're seeing, and it will continue on again, off again, at least through the next several days, as we are looking at what I would like to call a pumping area of low pressure. It's going to continue to spin off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. And like I said, it's pumping in layers of moisture across the west coast of the United States. That will continue through again Tuesday, bringing us wet weather. It's not going to be bringing us anything crazy. It's not going to bring widespread heavy rainfall every single day. It is going to bring those light rounds of on again, off again rain showers through Tuesday. Again, it is going to remain pretty wet over the next several days, but it is not going to be flooding rainfall. So that's the best news of all. Light, consistent rain, that is what we need. And luckily, that is what we are going to get, along with a lot of cloud coverage. The clouds will continue to clear through later this afternoon and evening. And in fact, we might even see a beautiful sunset tonight, especially across our inland locations. But the dry weather, not going to stick around much longer than the evening hours. There's going to be more waves of rain, like I said, continuing through Tuesday before a lot warmer weather arrives. I'll let you know everything you can expect this upcoming week coming up in my full forecast.
A historic 99-year-old theater in San Francisco's Mission District has become a place for community and culture to come together, thanks in no small part to one woman who led the fight to save it. Sharon Chin introduces us to Anastasia Powers-Cuellar, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
Anastasia Powers-Cuellar remembers the first time she visited the Brava Theater back in 1983.
I came to see a film about Machito, and John Santos was giving a lecture about the history of Latin jazz and salsa, and I was just blown away. The theater seats used to be a lot lower rate here.
She's never lost that sense of awe.
It's called Macarena.
Since 2012, she's led Brava for Women in the Arts. The nonprofit highlights productions by women, the LGBTQ+ community, people of color, youth, and other underrepresented voices.
It's always been a vortex of creative energy.
The theater first opened in 1926 as a vaudeville stage and eventually became a movie house before Brava bought the building in 1996. But some 15 years later, a recession nearly dropped the curtain on the cultural centerpiece.
It was $2 million in debt. There was 25 liens on the property. It was very sad.
And Anastasia was hired to save it.
I knew what this place meant in the community.
Drawing on 3 decades in the arts and administration, Anastasia secured grants and community partnerships. She led the effort to resuscitate the theater center, renovated the storefronts along 24th Street.
Cabaret space.
And carved a new cabaret space.
Inferior.
Jose Carrasco, director of the local Performing Arts Group at Brava, had a front row seat to the transformative work of Anastasia, whom he also calls Stacy.
It takes an important skill set of knowing how to work with people. I really couldn't tell you what the secret recipe is for Stacy, but she makes it happen.
Today, 30,000 people come to more than 200 events a year at Brava, showcasing local artists in music, theater, dance, and more. It provides affordable rental space to nonprofits, and it's home to youth performing arts and paid internships for teenagers learning production.
My home, sweet home.
Empress Kayende Koyejo, one of a dozen resident artists at Brava, celebrates Anastasia's gifts of collaboration and innovation.
And as an artist, you need someone who can see and believe in you enough to say, without question, let's go ahead and do it and see what it is.
Anastasia is proud that she helped usher a new period of stability for the arts community.
And we need it for our heart and our soul and our well-being.
So for saving and breathing new life into the Brava Theater Center, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Anastasia Powers-Cuellar.
After 13 years as executive director, Anastasia says it is time to step down. She'll be doing it in June. She urges people to continue to support Brava and the arts, noting that utility bills alone have more than doubled. And you can nominate a community hero for a CBS News Bay Area Icon Award. Just head to our website, kpix.com/icon. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Max Darrow. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and today's top stories.